You are listening to Novel Nest Audio, Episode 4, Beneath the Crimson Gate. A decision has been made, and there is no turning back. Secrets descend deeper than stone corridors. Power whispers, but it always demands a price. The journey continues. Chapter 16. Baiting the Vermin. Klein stepped into the quiet corridor, the night air still clinging to his coat. The meeting with the medium lingered in his thoughts, heavy yet clarifying. He turned his key slowly, letting the dim crimson of the moonlight spill into the room ahead. Before he could enter fully, he noticed a figure seated at his desk. Melissa sat there, her reddish-black hair catching the faint light, her eyes fixed on him with silent inquiry. Melissa asks where he has been. "Where did you go so late? I woke up and realized you weren't home." Klein forced a weary smile. His mind spun quickly, weaving together a harmless explanation. He gestured to his damp shirt as proof. Klein replies calmly, "I couldn't fall back asleep. I decided to run a few laps instead of wasting time. See, I'm drenched." Melissa studied him, then softened. She spoke about his upcoming university interview, confidence mingled with quiet concern. Klein nodded, choosing not to mention the invitation he had received earlier that night. Without another word, Melissa hurried inside and returned holding a strange mechanical creation. Gears and springs protruded from its shell-like frame. She wound it, and it began to hop and clatter rhythmically on the desk. Melissa explains her invention. "When I feel irritated, watching this move helps me calm down. I finished it 2 days ago. Try it." Klein observed the contraption's steady motion. Its simplicity was oddly soothing. He offered sincere praise. Klein commented lightly, "It looks like a tortoise." The atmosphere shifted instantly. Melissa's expression grew serious. Melissa corrects him. "It's a puppet." Klein laughed softly, attempting to smooth over the misstep. He changed the subject quickly, teasing her about waking in the middle of the night. Melissa paused, preparing to answer. Suddenly, an unmistakable rumble sounded from her stomach. Melissa reacted hurriedly. "I'm going back to bed." She grabbed the puppet and retreated, the door closing behind her. Klein shook his head, smiling faintly. Seated at his desk, beneath the red moon, he weighed Dunn's offer. Becoming a civilian staff for the Nighthawks meant stepping beneath the church's watchful gaze. For someone harboring secrets, transmigration, the gathering, hidden ambitions, it was dangerous. Restrictions would follow. Travel would require permission. Missions would demand obedience. And the path of a beyonder carried the constant threat of losing control. Yet the alternatives were worse. Strange events already shadowed him. Without strength or allies, he would remain exposed. Relying solely on the mysterious gathering was unsustainable. Materials, formulas, knowledge, none could be secured safely without raising suspicion. To act only as the fool without real-world grounding would eventually unravel him. By joining the Nighthawks, he would gain knowledge, contacts, and legitimacy. The most effective disguise, perhaps, was standing within the crowd itself. As the crimson faded and sunlight stretched across the horizon, Klein made his decision. He would seek Dunn and accept the civilian position. Melissa later emerged again, surprised to find him still awake. He explained he had been thinking through matters carefully. She shared her habit of listing advantages and disadvantages when facing difficult choices. Klein smiled, admitting he had done the same. Her simple logic felt reassuring. After breakfast and a short rest, he prepared meticulously. His hat was brushed, his suit straightened, every detail adjusted as if attending a formal interview. Beswick Street lay far from home. Rather than walk, he boarded a double-stecker horse carriage at Iron Cross Street. He paid 4 pence and noted he would have to walk back with only 3 remaining. Passengers sat quietly reading newspapers.
The wheels clattered along fixed tracks. When Champagne Street was announced, Klein disembarked and made his way on foot. Soon he reached the pub marked by a brownish-yellow hound. Pushing open the heavy door, he was met with noise and heat. The room was dim and crowded. At its center stood 2 iron cages sunk into the ground. Patrons circled them with drinks in hand, shouting and laughing. A short man approached Klein. "Care to place a wager? Doug's won 8 rounds straight." Klein frowned slightly. Klein seeks clarification. "What exactly are you betting on?" 2 men dragged sacks to the cage and dumped their contents inside. Gray shapes scattered wildly. Rats, dozens upon dozens. The dogs were unleashed. The black one lunged instantly, jaws snapping with precision. The black and white dog hesitated, then began chasing playfully. The crowd roared. Shouts of encouragement filled the room as rats darted helplessly against the cage walls. Understanding dawned on Klein. The contest measured which dog could kill more vermin, a crude spectacle masquerading as refinement. He retreated from the cage, suppressing a grimace. Instead of participating, he approached the bar. Klein addressed the bartender. "I'm here to see Mr. Wright." The bartender called out. "Old man, someone's asking for you." Wright responded. "Who needs me?" Klein explained his purpose. "I'd like to hire a small mercenary squad." The bartender scoffed at the old-fashioned phrasing. Wright, however, narrowed his eyes. Wright questions him. "Who told you to come here?" Klein answers honestly. "Dunn Smith." Recognition spread across Wright's face. He chuckled, leaning closer. Klein gives directions. "The squad still exists, just under a new name. 2nd floor, number 36, Zuterland Street." Klein thanked him and slipped back through the crowd. Behind him, murmurs rippled. The favored black dog had been defeated after all. Counting house numbers along Zuterland Street, he entered the stairwell and climbed. A vertical sign came into view. Blackthorn Security Company. And so, beneath an ordinary name and a simple signboard, a different path opened before him. The air seemed heavier on the 2nd floor. Yet his steps did not hesitate.
Chapter 17. The Department Behind the Curtain. The signboard read Blackthorn Security Company. Klein paused beneath it, equal parts amused and bewildered. The name felt ordinary, almost laughably so, yet strangely fitting. After a brief chuckle, he climbed the steps and knocked on the half-closed door. His knuckles struck wood in steady rhythm. No reply came, only a faint sputtering sound drifted from within. He knocked again, louder this time. Still nothing. Klein pushed the door open slightly and peered inside. A sofa, an armchair, and a wooden table formed a modest reception area. Behind a desk, a brown-haired girl sat, slumped forward. He stepped closer and tapped on the desk near her ear. The girl jolted upright and instantly raised a newspaper to hide her face. The title facing Klein read, Tingan City Honest Paper. She began reading aloud in an exaggerated tone about a new steam train line. Mid-sentence, she lowered the paper and blinked at him in surprise. Klein introduces himself politely. "My name is Klein Moretti. I've come at Captain Dunn Smith's invitation." She stood abruptly, smoothing her dress. "Please wait here. I'll fetch the captain." She disappeared into the adjacent room without offering so much as water. Klein waited, faintly entertained by the office's lack of professionalism. After a few minutes, she returned with a bright smile. "Captain is on duty at the Chanis Gate. Please follow me." Chanis Gate? The name stirred his curiosity. He followed her through a partition into a narrow corridor. Several offices lined the walls, some locked, others filled with the clacking of typewriters. He spotted the young officer who had once investigated his apartment, the black-haired man with poetic eyes. Their gazes met briefly, and the man offered a relaxed smile.
At the corridor's end, Roseanne opened a door revealing a stone staircase descending underground. Gas lamps along the walls cast steady light over gray stone. She stepped carefully, eyes fixed downward. As they descended, Roseanne chattered nervously about nearly falling on these stairs. She recounted how Leonard, newly empowered as a sleepless, once tumbled down them in spectacular fashion. Her laughter echoed softly in the confined space. Roseanne introduces herself properly. "I'm Roseanne. My father was a Nighthawk too. He died in service 5 years ago. I joined when I was 17. I suppose we'll be colleagues, though not teammates, since we're not Beyonders." Klein responded gently, expressing hope that Captain Dunn would approve his inclusion. They reached the stone floor below. Sacred emblems of the Evernight goddess adorned the walls at intervals. Passing them, Klein felt an unexpected calm settle over him. At an intersection, Roseanne gestured to each direction. Roseanne explains the layout. Left leads to St. Selena Cathedral, right holds the armory and archives. Straight ahead is the Chanis Gate. The cathedral's proximity startled Klein. He had not realized the headquarters lay so close behind familiar streets. Ahead stood a black iron gate engraved with 7 sacred symbols. It radiated weight and authority. Roseanne pointed to a nearby room. Roseanne directs him. "Captain is inside. You can go in." Klein knocked. Dunn responds from within. "Enter." Inside, Dunn sat at a simple table, newspaper in hand. He looked up, expression steady. Dunn addresses Klein. "Sit down. Have you made your decision?" Klein removed his hat and took a seat. Klein answers clearly. "Yes, I wish to join." Dunn produced 2 copies of a contract. Most terms had been discussed before. Confidentiality was emphasized heavily. 5-year term, weekly salary of £2.10 with additional compensation for risk and secrecy. Violations would be judged by the church's tribunal. Klein gives his agreement. "I have no objections." He signed both copies carefully, pressing his thumbprint in lieu of a seal. Dunn stamped them with official markings. Dunn rose and extended his hand. Dunn greets him formally. "Welcome. From now on, you're one of us. And remember, the contract itself is confidential." Klein shook his hand firmly. Klein clarifies his address. "Then I should call you Captain?" "Yes." Dunn showed another document bearing police and city seals. The title read, 7th Unit Special Operations Department. He outlined the structure. Regular police handled routine security, while Units 5 and above addressed supernatural matters. Their squad answered to incidents tied to the Evernight goddess within Tingen. Other churches maintained similar divisions. Territories were divided accordingly. Klein chuckled softly. Klein asked playfully, "What if someone actually comes seeking help from the security company?" "We accept the job, of course. Extra income becomes bonuses, though trivial cases are usually claimed by private detectives." Klein shifted to another concern. Klein inquires about personnel. "Captain, how many members are in the squad?" 6 official Nighthawks, including me, and 6 civilian staff, now including you." Silence lingered briefly. Then Klein asked the question weighing on his mind. "Captain, what does it mean when Beyonders lose control? Why does it happen?" The underground air felt cooler in that moment. The iron gate stood silent nearby, and the path Klein had chosen seemed to descend even deeper still.
Chapter 18. Where It All Began. Dunn did not answer immediately. Instead, he turned his gaze toward the corridor that led to the iron gate and packed tobacco mixed with mint into his pipe. He inhaled slowly, savoring the scent before speaking. Dunn asks Klein a question. "Do you remember the tale of creation?" Klein searched through fragmented memories left behind by the original owner of this body. Sunday school lessons surfaced gradually. He began recounting what he could recall. Klein recounts the myth. He was nobler than the stars and more eternal than time itself. She is the Lady of Crimson, Mother of Secrets, Empress of Horror and Disaster, Mistress of Silence and Repose. His recollection slowed as the details blurred. The imagery felt oddly familiar, reminiscent of myths from another world. Donne continues the account. His lungs became elves. His heart gave rise to giants, his liver shaped treants, his brain birthed dragons, his kidneys turned into feathered serpents, his hair became phoenixes, his ears became demonic wolves, his teeth and mouth produced mutants, the remnants of his fluids formed sea monsters, and the darker remnants of his body became devils and malicious beings. From his spirit emerged the eternal blazing sun, the Lord of storms, and the God of knowledge and wisdom. Klein finished the final line instinctively. And from his wisdom, humanity was born. That was the first epoch. The myth was astonishingly detailed. Each race corresponded precisely to a body part, strangely consistent across several churches. Klein raises a doubt. If those gods were born from the Creator's spirit, why isn't the goddess described the same way? Donne did not answer directly. Instead, he gave Klein a subtle task. Recite the goddess's full honorific name. Klein forced his memory to cooperate. Klein recites reverently. She is nobler than the stars and more eternal than time itself. She is the Lady of Crimson, Mother of Secrets, Empress of Horror and Disaster, Mistress of Silence and Repose. Donne asked gently, "What does Lady of Crimson represent?" Klein answered without hesitation, "The red moon." And the crimson moon came from which part of the Creator? The answer struck instantly. One of his eyes. The implication was undeniable. Donne resumed calmly. Humanity possessed intelligence but lacked inherent supernatural power, yet everything, he said, came from a common origin. Donne explains potion origins. Humans eventually learned to use the remnants of extraordinary beings, dragons, devils, magical plants, and others, combining them with materials to brew potions. Consuming these grants power, but recklessness carries consequences. He outlined 3 dire outcomes from ingesting potions beyond one's capacity. Donne lists the first outcome. First, the mind collapses completely. The body disintegrates into monstrous forms. Second, personality is twisted. Coldness, cruelty, volatility take over. He lifted a porcelain cup and took a sip of coffee. Third, madness, instant insanity, becoming more monstrous than devils themselves. That is what we call losing control. The term lingered heavily in the underground room. Explanatory shift. Donne spoke of centuries of experimentation. Eventually, humanity developed structured progression systems called sequences. Lower numbers meant greater power. Klein notices a key term. What is the blasphemy slate? Donne was cautious. It is tied to malevolent entities. I know little of its specifics. If you uncover anything, report it immediately. It demands the highest priority. Donne then continued. There were more ways to lose control than the 3 already mentioned. Klein listened closely. Donne describes the second category. Some people are born with heightened spiritual perception. They can see and hear what others cannot. They already carry partial traits of a sequence 9 beyonder.
Such people are bound to a specific path. Consuming potions from another path may lead to disaster. Klein absorbed the warning. Dunn elaborates further. Once you choose a sequence path, you must follow it. Mixing different paths brings warped abilities and near-certain instability. After that mistake, any further potion leads only to loss of control. Klein's expression grew tense. Klein pressed onward. And the fourth type? Dunn wearily replied. When we consume potions, remnants of spiritual influence remain within us. If someone advances too quickly without fully digesting those remnants, madness accumulates. That is why promotions require years of waiting and examination. Even with such precautions, Dunn admitted many still succumbed each year. Klein asked about the final cause. Dunn's faint smile carried no warmth this time. Dunn reveals the fifth reason. The fifth is the most common. As Beyonders grow stronger, their spiritual senses sharpen. They perceive whispers and visions others cannot. They encounter temptations and illusions constantly. If their desires swell or their minds are overstimulated, they slowly descend into loss of control. His gray eyes fixed on Klein. The weight of his gaze felt almost tangible. Dunn quotes a predecessor. Archbishop Channis said, "We stand as guardians, yet we are also pitiable souls, forever battling danger and madness." The underground chamber fell silent after those words. The iron gate nearby seemed even more imposing. Klein understood now. Power was never free. Every step upward carried the shadow of collapse. And beneath the earth, in that dimly lit room, the cost of ambition felt colder than stone. The echo of Dunn's warning lingered in the still air.
Chapter 19. Relics Bound in Silence. We stand as guardians, yet we are also pitiable souls fighting madness. Dunn's words lingered in the brightly lit underground room. The sealed corridor outside looked cold and lifeless. Klein found himself unable to respond. Dunn shook his head faintly. Dunn comments on Klein's reaction. Disappointed? Beyonders aren't shining heroes. We walk beside danger every day. Klein steadied himself. Klein answers honestly. Power always demands a price. Fear lingered. The thought of retreat flickered, but he forced his mind into clarity. Dunn continued. Dunn instructs. Low sequence doesn't mean strong. Sequence 9 is the beginning. A low sequence Beyonder cannot resist bullets, much less cannons. What makes them dangerous is subtlety. He warned Klein not to rush advancement. Klein gave a faint smile. I don't even know if I'll ever get the chance. But inside, he calculated carefully. Potion mistakes could be avoided. Patience reduced risk. He had already brushed against madness once. Strength meant survival. Dunn resumed calmly. Dunn explains requirements. To become a Beyonder, you must contribute meaningfully, solve cases, provide insight, impress higher authorities. Then arrangements may follow. Dunn stood and walked toward the corridor. Dunn outlines civilian roles. We have an accountant. Another manages supplies and transportation. Roseanne, Brett, and Old Neil handle visitors, cleaning, documentation, and guarding the armory and archives. They rotate shifts. Klein asked about himself. Klein inquires. And my responsibilities? Dunn showed a faint smile. You're a professional. Klein blinked. Dunn assigns the first task. Each morning or afternoon, walk the streets between Welch's residence and your home. Klein stared at him. Just walk? Dunn explained. We believe you may have hidden the Antigonus diary along your route. Even without memory, your subconscious might react at a key location. The deduction was reasonable. Klein acknowledged. I see.
Dunn encouraged. If you recover it, your contribution will be significant. Dunn continued. You may choose one weekly rest day. Otherwise, study in the armory. Read the canon and historical records. After finishing, you'll rotate shifts. Klein nodded. That's manageable? Ominous shift. Dunn turned toward the massive black gate. This is Chanis Gate. Every major city has one beneath its cathedral. It is constantly guarded. Never approach without authorization. Klein listened carefully. Inside are potion formulas, materials, temporary prisoners. Eventually they are transferred to the Holy Cathedral. Then Dunn added quietly. Behind it, in the basement, are sealed artifacts. Dunn's tone lowered. Dunn explains sealed artifacts. Some extraordinary items are too dangerous to leave unsecured. If misused, they could cause devastation, so we seal them and monitor them. Even we use them only under strict conditions. He paused. Some possess traits almost alive. They tempt their keepers. They influence surroundings. They attempt escape. Klein murmured softly. That's astonishing. Structured explanation. Dunn described their classification. Grade 0 is extremely dangerous. Absolute secrecy. Stored only in the Holy Cathedral. Grade 1 is highly dangerous. Grade 2 is dangerous. Grade 3 is considerably dangerous. Each artifact carries a code number reflecting its grade. Sudden seriousness. Dunn retrieved a document. Descriptive tone. Dunn gives Klein a photograph. Memorize this man. 3 years ago he lost control and escaped with a grade 0 artifact. If you encounter him, do not confront him. Report immediately. Close focus. Klein studied the image. Descriptive. Ince Zangwill, former archbishop, blind in one eye, severe, sculpted features. Cautious thought. Klein spoke carefully. There's more detail about him than about the artifact. Dunn resigned. Because 008 holds the highest clearance, its details are rarely written. Brief pause. Dunn added quietly. It resembles a common quill. It writes without ink. That is all. Final instruction. Dunn checked his pocket watch. Go to the armory. Find old Neil. He'll prepare your reading materials. The underground air felt heavier now. Madness, artifacts, corruption. Soft ending. The iron gate stood unmoving behind him, but the deeper dangers lay beyond sight, and Klein had only just stepped into their world.
Chapter 20. Dunn and his slipping thoughts. Klein bowed slightly and placed his short top hat back on his head. His mind, however, remained tangled in speculation about sealed artifact 008. A pen that needed no ink. What could it truly do? He imagined absurd possibilities. A pen that killed anyone whose name it wrote? No, if it were that simple, Ince Zangwill would not need to flee and hide. Just as he turned to leave, Dunn's voice stopped him. Dunn calls out, "Wait, I forgot something." Klein turned back. "Yes, Captain?" Dunn smiling. "Go see Mrs. Oriana in finance. Collect 4 weeks of advance salary, £12. After that, you'll receive half pay weekly until it balances out." Klein reacted instinctively. "That seems excessive. Perhaps the amount could be reduced?" Dunn firm but warm. "It's necessary. Do you plan to continue sharing a bathroom with half the building? Even if you don't care about yourself, consider your sister." Dunn's eyes swept over Klein's clothes. "And you need a proper cane and a better suit." Klein's face flushed. He knew exactly how cheap his attire was. A true gentleman's ensemble cost more than £8. He swallowed his pride. "Understood." Dunn checked his pocket watch. "Go now. You'll spend time with old Neil later, and Oriana may leave soon." He tugged a rope. Somewhere upstairs, a bell chimed. Roseanne hurried in shortly after. Dunn lightly teasing, "Did I disturb your nap? Take Moretti to Mrs. Oriana." Roseanne obedient. "Of course, Captain." Klein blinked.
Is that enough? No written authorization? Done, matter of fact. Roseanne's word is sufficient. Klein resisted a sarcastic thought about financial oversight. As he stepped out, Dunn calling, "One more thing." Klein turned back with effort. "Yes?" Dunn thinking aloud. "When you see old Neil, collect 10 demon-hunting bullets." Klein stared. "For me?" Dunn calm. "You still have Welch's revolver. With proper ammunition, you can at least defend yourself." Klein nodded. "I'll remember." Dunn wrote a note, signed it, and stamped it. Just as Klein moved, Dunn, sudden, "Hold on." Klein forced another smile. "Yes, Captain?" Dunn sheepish. "You're not trained in shooting. Demon-hunting bullets would be wasted. Instead, collect 30 standard rounds daily. Practice at the underground range on Zoutland Street, and get a badge from old Neil first." Amended document. Dunn retrieved the note, added instructions, stamped it again. A marksman is made through spent bullets. Klein accepted the revised note. Before leaving, he asked carefully, "Is there anything else?" Dunn confident, "No." Klein fought the temptation to ask again. Hallway. Outside, Roseanne whispered conspiratorially, "Captain always forgets trivial things, only trivial ones." They climbed upstairs towards finance.
They entered the far office. Mrs. Oriana stood behind her desk, black hair, refined posture, clear green eyes. After hearing Roseanne relay Dunn's message, she prepared the advance slip. Oriana instructs, "Sign here. Thumbprint if you lack a seal." Klein complied. She unlocked a safe and counted banknotes carefully. "You were invited because of a paranormal case, correct? You're remarkably perceptive." "I had a similar encounter." She spoke of a serial killer from 16 years ago. "If the Nighthawks hadn't intervened, I would have been his 6th victim." Klein listened carefully. "He was a Beyonder?" "Yes, he was preparing a ritual. That led to his capture." Klein offered sympathy. She dismissed him kindly. "Don't let me delay you. Old Neil awaits." Klein stepped out, patting his inner pocket to ensure the 12 pounds remained secure. He reached a half-closed iron door and knocked. "Enter." Inside sat an elderly man in a black robe illuminated by gaslight. "You must be Klein Moretti." "Good afternoon, Mr. Neil." "Sit. Coffee?" Neil himself drank only water. "You don't drink coffee?" "Not after 3. It affects my sleep. And then I hear murmurs." Uneasy silence. Klein quickly shifted the topic. "What should I begin reading?" Neil explained. "Incomplete historical texts, fragmented materials. For instance, pages from Roselle Gustav's lost diary." The name struck Klein instantly. He wrote using symbols he invented. Many believe he never truly died. We occasionally obtain copies from cult investigations. Neil smiled broadly. "I've deciphered some symbols. They represent numbers. It is indeed a diary." He explained his method, cross-referencing history with dates. "Quite ingenious, don't you think?" "Yes." Neil pushed the pages forward. "Take a look. You'll assist me starting tomorrow." Klein glanced at the copied symbols. Though crudely written, distorted, there was no mistaking them. They were characters he knew better than his own name. In that dim armory, beneath gaslight and dust, a bridge between two worlds revealed itself silently, and Klein's heart began to pound.
Some doors, once opened, cannot be closed again. And sometimes the smallest discovery changes everything. We'll continue this journey in the next episode. This episode is an original retelling inspired by a popular web novel.